Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro officially founded a city he named Ciudad de los Reyes, or City of the Kings. The name was chosen to commemorate the Feast of the Epiphany, which is celebrated on January 6th and marks the visit of the three wise men to the infant Jesus. Over time, though, the name Lima gained popularity and replaced the original name. It is unclear why exactly this happened, but the name is thought to come from the Quechua word Rimac, meaning he who speaks, referring to the nearby Rimac River, which is known as the Talkative River due to stones that drag across the channel that create a sound similar to babbling. The Quechua dialect of the local fishermen differed from their Incan rulers in Cusco. These fishermen could not pronounce the R sound, so they called it Limac. Spaniards had trouble with the Q sound, so they dropped it completely, which is how Lima came to be. The Lima region has been inhabited for thousands of years. Before the arrival of the Spanish, the area was home to various indigenous cultures, including the Inca and Ishma people. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and his forces defeated the Inca Empire, and by 1535, Pizarro officially founded the city on January 18th. In 1543, Lima became the capital of the Viceroyalty of Peru, a major administrative and economic center of the Spanish Empire in South America. The city prospered in the 16th and 17th centuries and became known for its grand colonial architecture. On October 20th and December 2nd of 1687, powerful earthquakes destroyed most of the city. The city faced shortages of food, outbreaks of disease, and a reduction in trade. On October 28, 1746, another earthquake massively destroyed the city, which caused the city to be rebuilt, leading to the construction of many of its iconic colonial buildings. Peru declared its independence from Spanish rule on July 28, 1821. Lima played a crucial role in the struggle for independence, and the city became the capital of the newly independent Republic of Peru. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Lima experienced economic growth and modernization. The city attracted immigrants from various parts of the world, contributing to its cultural diversity. Lima underwent significant political changes in the 20th century, experiencing periods of political instability and military rule. The city also underwent urban expansion, with the population growing rapidly. Today, Lima is a vibrant and dynamic city known for its cultural attractions, culinary scene, and historic sites. The city has faced challenges such as urbanization and traffic congestion, but it remains a key center for politics, commerce, and culture in Peru. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Travel Like Locals podcast. My name is Alex Tabry, and today we will be diving into Lima, Peru, a beautiful city with a vibrant culture, rich history, amazing sights, and delicious food. Shortly, we will hear from Choji Itosu, a local tour guide in Lima, Peru, who has lived an amazing life traveling as a chef, working in Australia, Japan, and all over Peru. I'd highly recommend you grab a snack while listening to this one because we really dive into the local cuisine. I personally had the chance to travel to Peru back in January of 2019. Here I spent 2 weeks traveling through Lima and Cusco, seeing everything that this country had to offer. Over the next hour, Choji will tell us about all of the amazing things to do in Peru and learn how to travel like a local. As always, to see his recommendations and more, you can check out our website, www.tllpod.com, or find clips on our Instagram and TikTok at @tll_pod. If you're watching the podcast, stay tuned to the end where you'll get to see me create the delicious dish of Lomo Saltado. If you're just listening, you can find these recipes on TikTok, Instagram, and the website. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you have any recommendations for cities you would like me to cover in the future, please reach out to me. Now here's Choji. All right, well, I want to welcome our next guest on the Travel Like Locals podcast. We have Choji here from Lima, Peru. And Choji, can you just give us a bit of a background about yourself and how you got to being a travel guide? Because from what we've talked about so far, your life sounds like it's been amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you, Alex, for this opportunity. By the way, I'm glad that I'm able to share my a little bit about myself, my experience, and to tell everyone that is listening to this podcast about Lima, okay, and what it's all about. So yeah, I can just tell you that my name is Choji Itosu. I'm actually this is gonna surprise a lot of people because I'm actually half Okinawan, half Peruvian. My dad migrated here in the early 50s, after Second World War, because to be honest, I don't know if you know, not too many people know this, but in the early 1900s, actually to be exact, in 1899, there was 790 Japanese families that migrated here, invited by the Peruvian government to populate parts of the south part of Lima, which back in the days were the farming areas of the city. And they invited that because back in the early 1900s, guys, I mean, the Americas and South America was like the promised land, for a lot of people. While in Asia and in Europe there was like battles and so many wars going on, especially, and the continent was actually, yeah, getting trying to resolve all their issues. In South America was quite peaceful and quite rich because definitely are mining. But actually, just to point out also that Peru's 40% of our economy is based on mining,
Hmm.
and it's mainly gold, silver, copper, zinc, lithium, and that is we are mainly a country that produces that for China, the U.S., Europe, right now, and that is 40% of our GDP. So back in the early 1900s, a lot of Peruvian people migrated here, especially because Lima, and this is also part of my story as well. Lima has 7 strong migrant groups that came here in the past 500 years. Okay, because one thing that you also need to know is that Lima was founded in 1535. Okay, so in 11 years from now, guys, Lima is going to have 500 years of foundation.
Wow.
Not even the U.S. was half discovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even Quebec City, which is the oldest North American city, was even founded. And Lima was already back then. It became actually the richest European capital outside Europe. Actually,
Hmm.
also counting Tenochtitlan, Mexico City as well. But Peru
Hmm.
was way more important because when the Spanish arrived to these shores, they hit the jackpot. So there's been 7 migrant groups that arrive in the city for the past 700 years. Okay, which one is Spanish, and all the Spanish that arrived here in the first 100 years, or most of them, they came from the south part of Spain. And ethnically, the south part of Spain for 700 years was invaded by the Moors. Northern Africans, Arabian, Muslims. That's why you go to Granada, Seville, every single Catholic church, you go inside and it's like a mosque, because
Hmm.
there were mosques. And when the Spanish came and migrated to this part of the world, to Peru, to specifically to Lima, they start recruiting people that wanted to come here, and that's why actually the Latin American is not as white as the northern Spanish, by the way. So that is actually a fun
Hmm.
fact that people can know. So most of these
Hmm.
people came. So most of the Spanish came from the south of Spain, and that is why a lot of Peruvian cooking techniques are based on Arabian and Muslim cooking techniques, and
Okay.
as well as the Spanish words are related to Arabian, like almohada, which means pillow. Almohada, in Arab means the same, by the way. So
Hmm.
we have a lot of these like trick inside things in Spanish that are related to Arabian words as well. Anyway, so Spanish came from southern part of Spain. Then Italian came only from Genoa. 80% came from Genova. For example, when you go to Argentina or New York, most of these people, most of the Italian that migrated there, or either they're from Calabria or Sicilia, okay, or Calabria, Sicilia. But when you come and you research on which type of Italian came to Peru in the 16th century, they were mainly from Genoa. And then
Hmm.
there was a small French community that came from Montpellier, which is a south part of France as well, which are mainly Mediterranean too. And then you have the Chinese, and then you have the Japanese. And then for the Chinese community, it's funny because actually tonight I'm gonna go to a Chinese restaurant for dinner, celebrating New Year's Eve 10 days early because I'm gonna be busy this week. So
Ah.
yes, it's the 10th of February, by the way.
Okay, I was
Chinese New
about to
Year.
ask.
There you go. There you
Okay.
go. So in Lima, there's two main Chinese communities. Okay, you get the
Hmm.
Hakka community, and then you have the Cantonese community. The Cantonese came in 1856, hired by the British to build to this day to build the highest railroads in the world. Which are here in the city of Lima, going into the Andes to the mining areas from back from the mid 19th century,
Hmm.
1856 to be exact. That's when they came. And then after Second World War and until today, there is a small communities that start coming, but the second biggest one is called the Hakka community. And Hakka is a Chinese ethnicity that doesn't speak Mandarin, doesn't speak Cantonese, speaks Hakka dialect, and
Mm.
that's a community that, in my opinion, has the best food. Okay,
Okay.
it's a mixture of Szechuan food with
Mm.
Taiwanese, even with
Mm.
Cantonese. Is very spicy. Mapo tofu is my favorite. I'm gonna have that tonight, by the way. So well, that
Nice.
is the two Chinese communities that are in the city of Lima. Okay, Hakka community
Hmm.
and Cantonese. Okay, and
Hmm.
then and then going to the Japanese community. By the way, I am half Japanese, as I was saying, but we are from Okinawa, right? And Okinawan people, as I was telling you, 790 families, 790 persons, sorry, from Japan, from the northern part of Tokyo, from Fukushima, where close to where the nuclear plant that got destroyed in 2011, 2010 from the earthquake
Mm.
in Japan.
Hmm.
That community is the one that came here, but then later, before Second World War and after Second World War, Okinawan people came here. Okinawa is a little tiny island, the south part of Japan, which happened to have the biggest U.S. military base in the entire Asia, and it was
Mm.
occupied by the military U.S. after Second World War till the mid 70s, if I have my facts correct. And
Hmm.
but Okinawan people was their own kingdom until 1896. So people from Okinawa, I mean the old school people from Okinawa, they consider themselves Uchinaguchi, which is the proper name of the ethnicity of the island, because they speak
Okay.
Uchinanchu. Okay, so
Mm.
bottom line, Okinawan people consider themselves fully Okinawan, not too much Japanese. It's like
Hmm.
saying, so you're British, right? But it's like saying, but you're from Scotland, right? No, I'm
Sure.
Scottish, right?
Hmm.
Seems things like that, right?
Okay.
It's that big of a cultural difference, but people don't know that because it's like same Germany, northern Germany, Bavarian,
Yeah.
northern France and southern France as well. It's the fancy Italians live in the north, the countryside people live in the south, things like that.
Hmm.
Happens everywhere.
Sure.
So yeah,
Sure.
bottom line, I've been living. I was born and raised in the city of Lima, but I lived for a while in Japan from 19 to 20, 21, and I lived in Australia and worked there as a chef as well from 26 to 28, 29, 29 actually. And
Hmm.
I've been working for the past 10 years in tourism. Now on my late 30s, and happy to school you guys into what you need to do in the city of Lima. Sorry for the long the introduction.
No,
Sorry.
that's a great introduction. I mean, if I
Sorry.
ended it right
Sorry.
there, I think we'd have a great podcast, but I'm so excited
Right.
to keep going with this and learn even
Let's keep
more.
going. Let's keep going. Please.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So,
Hmm.
for people who want to go to Lima for the first
Hmm.
time, when they're planning a trip, in your
Hmm.
opinion, what do you think is the best time of year to visit?
So the best time to visit, it's your winter, okay? The northern hemisphere winter, okay? But to
Yeah.
Lima alone, because you need to understand also one thing about Peru, okay? So
Hmm.
when you see Peru like this on the map, okay?
Yeah.
Peru, it's how in the US they tell you, oh, the US, the land of freedom, right? The land of the free and the brave, okay?
Sure.
Sure, exactly. When you go to Canada, it's like the great white north. When
Yeah.
you go to Japan, it's the land of the rising sun, right? You go
Hmm.
to South Africa, the land of diamond. You go to Australia, it's the land of luck. You go to New Zealand, it's the land of the long white cloud, by the way, okay? Well,
Mm.
when you come to Peru, for all Peruvians, how we describe the country, have we been taught, trained, and this is ingrained in our brains, okay? They tell us to say this always. Peru is the land of the three regions, okay? The
Okay.
three regions. We got coast, Countryside, rainforest. Not the land of the sun, because that's a given. Not the land of the Incas, because that is a marketing thing that the government did in the late 70s to sell tourism.
Yeah.
No. We'd say because the Inca is only one ethnicity out of 31 ethnicities in the whole country. Nobody's
Mm.
considered. Nobody considered themselves. Oh, I'm Inca. I'm Inca. No, if you're from the North Coast Peruvian, you're not gonna say I'm an Inca. I have Inca blood. You're gonna say I
Yeah.
am Mochica. I am Mochica people because
Okay.
Mochica is the big ethnicity. So my point of this is that we call this Peru the land of the three regions, okay? Las tres
Hmm.
regiones, coast, countryside, and rainforest. The whole entire coast of Peru, all the way from the north to the south, is a dry desert, by the way. Technically a dry
Mm.
forest. And it's
Hmm.
connected to the driest desert in the world, which is the Atacama Desert. And that is the entire coast of Peru, the entire coast of Peru facing the Pacific. And then our vertebrates, which is the Andean range, is where mainly all their biggest cultures have established because it's more fertile. At that altitude, the seasons are quite how do you say quite distinct from
Yeah.
the rainy season, from summer, from winter. And then
Hmm.
you have the rainforest that is divided in cloud forest and rainforest. Rainforest is at sea level, and cloud forest is higher where Machu Picchu altitude is located.
Hmm.
And so I'm giving you this introduction just to tell you why in which season you need to come to Lima, okay? So
Yeah.
then you have coast, countryside, and rainforest, okay? But we not only see Peru like this, we also see Peru like this, okay? Okay.
Okay.
So we got
Elevation
the
wise.
coast. Exactly. We have the coast. So now from 2D, we're passing on the chart, okay? So we
Okay.
got the coast, then you have the
Yep.
lower Andes, which is the most fertile area in Peru. Then you
Hmm.
have the Andean range, and then you have the cloud forest, and then the rainforest, okay? Like this. They call it three regions and the 8 geographical soils of Peru, okay? And then from the
Mm.
north, we're close to the equator. From the south, we're far from the equator. We only Lima is right in the middle, so it's only 1,000 kilometers from the equator. So our weather
Hmm.
is quite warm the entire year. Okay, so the
Hmm.
best time to come to Peru, in my opinion, it's during our summer, which is the northern hemisphere winter. But you
Yeah.
can come to Peru most of the year. But on our winter, which is your summer, it gets moody and cloudy because we have this cold current that passes from Chile and goes through Peru and goes in the south part of the Galapagos, which is like here, the
Mm.
Galapagos, and it goes
Hmm.
like this. And
Yeah.
when winter hits in the southern hemisphere, this cold current comes closer, and we have this microclimate pocket from Lima up to 600 kilometers north that brings this mist that it looks like it's about to rain, but it never rains. It's just gray. But
Mm.
when you only drive 1 hour outside the city into the lower Andes, remember, we are talking
Hmm.
about the coast, right? And then when you drive 1 hour into the lower Andes, then I grew up when I was a kid in the small town called Chosica, where my mom is from, and
Hmm.
Chosica is perpetual summer, Alex. It's
Okay.
it's like 80 degrees all year round,
Yeah.
85,
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that in my opinion, the best time to come to Lima is all year round, but definitely on summer, which our summer including spring, I would say from November all the way to June is definitely the best time to come to the city. And also fun fact about Lima, and with that I'm done. Okay, guess, Alex, this question for you: How much do
Okay.
you think? How many hours do you think it rains in the city of Lima a year,
Ooh.
approximately?
Uh, I'm gonna
I
guess
told you,
something low. I'm
yeah, I
gonna
told you, we live in a
say,
dry desert.
yeah, I would say maybe 30.
Right. Okay. Okay. So actually, the city of Lima, approximately every year, we receive a rain of 9 hours a year.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
never rains. So it pretty much
So
never rains.
don't pack a
Hmm.
rain jacket when you join.
Yeah, exactly. Only, but then again, if you go to Cusco on our summer, then
Yeah.
in the Andean range is the rainy season. Then
Hmm.
it will rain. Right now, people in Machu Picchu, in Cusco, right now in this instant, well, Lima, we are right now in 96 Fahrenheit, by the way,
Hmm.
since the 1st of January. But in
Yeah.
the city of Cusco, they're like possibly at 6 degrees, which is close to 60, very cold and rainy, because the
Yeah.
altitude, as I was telling you, the altitude changes, and also the altitude, because you're closer into the sun, there's less atmosphere, so it's definitely way colder. And just to
Yeah.
finish that, Peru, in the entire whole world, and this is another trick question, okay? In the entire whole
Okay.
world, there are 32 different microclimates, okay? 32.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how many? It's a debate between 28, 32, or 38, but this is 32 in the common knowledge. So 32 microclimates. Guess how many Peru has out of 32?
I'm guessing you have all of them.
Exactly. We have 32 different microclimates out of 32 different climates, because I saw, putting my hand back again in the shape of Peru, okay? Lima,
Yeah.
1 hour flight to any direction into Peru,
Mm-hmm.
you can reach any city, okay? So in
Yeah.
1 hour from coming to one of the driest deserts in the world, you can fly to a rainforest and be as hot as in Bali, hot as in Thailand, and eating
Yeah.
super exotic, different type of things, because the 32 different microclimates also obviously influence the type of soil. That is why in Peru we have 3,500 different type of potatoes, and
Wow.
300 different type of corn, 380 different type of chili peppers. We
Mm-hmm.
have like 7 different kind of avocados, 7 different kind of sweet potatoes. It's crazy that we have more than 2,000 different type of fruits, and they're mainly all in season, because, as I was telling you, 32 different microclimates also changes the harvesting microclimates. It's not like in the
Yeah.
US that you have like the plain, the East Coast, and then you have the plains in the
Sure.
middle, and then the Rockies, right? And then you have the desert, that covers all the West Coast. No, in
Mm-hmm.
Peru we have so many much microclimates and different types of soil. That is why, So yeah,
Yeah.
in 1 hour you can be in Mancora, which is like north coast of Peru, and
Mm-hmm.
you are as hot as the Caribbean. You're gonna be swimming with sea turtles and stingrays and dolphins. Peru is great. I mean, like, Peru is a
Yeah.
hidden gem. It's coming. It's coming. It's
Well,
coming.
it sounds
Okay.
like, I mean, there's an environment for everybody there, so you can't go
Exactly.
wrong, is
Exactly.
what it sounds like. Are there
Exactly.
any
hmm
festivals or events throughout the year that
hmm
are worth people coming for specifically?
Yes, that is a great question, by the way. So look, on the 18th, this from people, please take note. The 18th of January
Mm-hmm.
is the anniversary of Peru. Okay, anniversary of Lima, and there's only
Okay.
parades everywhere all around the city, mainly in the historic city center. You also need to know that Lima is like this. Okay, so Lima has a shape of an arrow that face
Mm-hmm.
west. Okay,
Okay.
face west. Okay, right by the tip there is a river that cuts the city in north and south. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right when you cut the river, right in the middle between this, in this equidistance from the coast to the north and the south part, right in the middle is the historic city center. The historic
Mm-hmm.
city center is only like 20 blocks around the plaza where the Spanish established themselves first, and then the city grew from there, right? So from this shape, well, let's put it like this: from this shape, the south
Mm-hmm.
part of the city of Lima, the southwest part, is definitely the best districts for tourism, for eating, and from hostels and hotels. But then the
Mm-hmm.
city center, it's where all the history happens normally. So on the 18th of January, that is the biggest day of the year in Lima because of their anniversary. Then
Okay.
if you go to Cusco, to Machu Picchu, you make sure to go in June, but be careful in June because June gets overcrowded with a lot of people, because the
Mm-hmm.
23rd of, no, usually it's the 22nd or 23rd or 24th, depends on the
Mm-hmm.
year of June. It's the Inti Raymi festival, which translate in Quechua, because remember Quechua,
Yeah.
as much as as well as this outdoor French brand Quechua, Quechua, Quechua.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the native language that the people from Cusco speaks, and
Mm-hmm.
Quechua is the Native American language. I'm counting all the Americans, eh?
Yeah.
All It's the Native American language that it's the most spoken in the whole entire this part of the world, in the Americas. It's 8 million people approximately speak it, and the origin
Okay.
comes from the city of Cusco and the surroundings. Okay, so the
Hmm.
Inti Raymi means the festival of the sun. the festival of the sun, and it's that area. So when in the coast and in the northern hemisphere, you enter your summer in the northern hemisphere, and we enter our winter, it becomes the Andean summer, which is called the Andean dry season. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a massive festival. Like at least 500,000 people go to the city of Cusco, and you also need to know one fun fact about Cusco. The city of Cusco was built on the shape of a puma. Okay,
Huh.
put that Cusco built as the shape of a puma. Okay, because exactly the Incas. You need to also know this is part of their social traditions they have there. When way before the Spanish introduced Catholicism to this part of the world, they have a religion called Pachamama, Mother Earth religion, right? So the Mother Earth religion was connected to three animals, which is the condor, puma, and the snake. Okay, the snake in Catholicism is seen as a bad omen, but in Andean culture, the snake is actually a spiritual guide, because when you die, they put it in fetal position, mummify you, and they will put back into Pachamama's womb. Okay, and the snake will be considered to be a spiritual guide back into Mother Earth, right? And then the puma will be the protector of our realm. That is why the city of Cusco is the shape of a puma, and on the head of that map, on the head of the puma, there is a archaeological site called Sacsayhuaman, which is their modern name, because we don't know the original name of any of the Incan sites, by the way, because Incan people didn't have a written classic language like Latin or Greek, so they have a different other language like geoglyphs, same as also different from Egypt, but they did have a type of nuts,
Yeah.
vocabulary. Okay, so anyway, so the shape of the head of the puma, there's an archaeological site called Sacsayhuaman, and that is where the Inti Raymi festival happens. It's like a big
Okay.
plateau. It's massive. And then you have the condor, which there are so many, and in Machu Picchu there is a condor temple, and the condor is supposed to be the messenger of the gods, for the Incan beliefs. So yeah, so that will be the biggest festivals in Peru, and Lake Titicaca, if I'm not mistaken, in the 20th of February, like soon, it's called the
Okay.
Candelaria Festival as well, which it's also Puno, the city of Puno, which is the capital and the biggest city next to the Lake Titicaca, which is the highest navigable lake in the entire world, in the south part of Peru, that we share half of the percent we share with Bolivia. Puno, it's the biggest city, and it is Puno. This is his motto is Puno, South American capital of dances. They have more than 300 different type of dances. Dances meaning choreographies. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and those will be the three big festivals. But there are so many in the rainforest, in Iquitos, which is the
Sure.
biggest rainforest town. The biggest rainforest city in the world is located here, also in Peru. Is in the city of Iquitos, and then so many more. So the festival of the vineyards in the south part of Lima. Crazy. All right.
I think
Mhm.
a lot of people might question or want to know more about the people of Peru. So, for
Right.
foreigners, travelers, how friendly would you say, in general, people from Lima are towards tourists?
So no, Latin American people overall are very friendly.
Yeah.
Especially as I think we were talking about like how the Andean communities, things like the Andean communities overall, they are very friendly. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a tiny story about a shaman that I met in Machu Picchu once. Okay,
Hmm.
we were like, you need to also know that Peru is very into psychedelic plants. Okay,
Okay.
so me as a personal researcher, obviously, I don't want to. I just want to. No, I mean, if you are in Peru, there is so many things that you need to do, because one, it's part of the culture, and second, it's completely legal. So
There you go.
one day, I just gotta tell you, one day, we're drinking this San Pedro, which is this like this marinated liquid from cactus, right? And this
Hmm.
shaman told me something about that makes so sense to me, and then I understood why Peruvians are extremely friendly, especially people from the countryside. Okay, But that also happens in Ecuador and Colombia too. People from the countryside are always friendly, as well as
Yeah.
in a lot of people, as well as a lot of countries that the countryside people, the farmer communities are like more friendly,
Sure.
right? But the shaman were like, he makes so much sense. He said to me, I hope I don't offend people. I guess I won't, but I just want to say it. So there
Sure.
in Peru, or in the Andean communities, there are like three different type of culture, which are called the three different type of magics. They say three different
Mm.
magics. Okay, we got the red magic, white magic, and the black magic. Okay,
Hmm.
the red magic, it's people that is all about greedy. Cultures that were like how to say, form from like greed. Like I'm talking about ancient cultures.
Sure.
Like Roman times, 1,500 years ago.
Yeah.
How civilizations and small communities thrive. Where's the culture
Hmm.
like? They say that the northern part of Peru, from the coast, they were really, it was all about red magic, because those people are considered to be the best gold craftsmen in the entire history of Peru, the best gold things that you will find in any museum in Peru or in the world that comes from Peru normally comes from that area, not even from the Incas. And then you
Hmm.
have the black magic that comes from the rainforest, that it's like envy, like a lot of wars between native communities for so long. People isolated. They don't want to they don't want to share already. They have this experience definitely from colonialism. They prefer to live isolated. They're very
Hmm.
resentful. In occasion, and still today there is a lot of like native communities that happen through that, which in my opinion totally their issue, totally their rights as well. But I have encountered really friendly though, but it's the ones that normally I work with tourism people, right? And they have
Hmm.
the white magic, and the white magic is mainly the countryside, all the countryside of Peru, because you need to understand one thing, Alex, that even though 40% of our GDP is based on mining,
Hmm.
almost another 40% is based in agriculture. Okay, so in
Okay.
Peru, you can actually spend really little and eat really well. With a
Nice.
little bit of money. Also, we have a very good, strong tradition of district markets. In Peru,
Hmm.
there is 3,038, if I'm not mistaken, different districts, right? And every single district has its own district markets that support the local butcher, the local agriculture guy, the local fruit lady, and it's every
Hmm.
single thing is 100% GMO. Okay, that's where I normally bring people when I like find like insights about the city, like the back roads of the city. Not touristic routes in the city. I will take the people there so they can see,
Hmm.
because supermarkets are definitely owned just by big corporations, which is also okay, obviously, because they leave great taxes for the country, obviously.
Sure.
But there are like supermarkets a lot all around the city, but district markets are one per district. Lima has 43 districts, and there are 43 different district markets, right? So
Hmm.
that is my whole point, right? People normally are usually very friendly,
Yeah.
because even though if they want to sell you something on the street, you will not find too much of people trying to harass you as a tourist. Maybe taxi drivers, but that is everywhere. But people are very, very usually and very friendly. They will help you out. Hey, where do you think this is from? If they notice that you're a foreign, they will definitely give you a hand. But definitely now in these worlds, Uber, if you want to go around the city, Uber, especially all around Peru, Uber works beauty. And
Mm.
but when you go to restaurants, the service is great. People are usually very friendly, because as I told you, like part of their base, if already food, which is like mainly, I don't know, 50% of your daily happiness is already like covered with great food. Then everything
Yeah.
else comes quite chill. And usually Latin American people are chill. And I have come across with every single color of the rainbow, to be honest. But it's
Hmm.
been, and I have traveled extensively through Peru, and I am half Asian. And I they don't see me sometimes in places in Peru that I go as completely fully local. But they but once you understand also one thing, and with this I close the circle of that. Okay, in
Sure.
Peru, especially when you go to, no, anywhere in Peru, coast, countryside, rainforest, you need to be
Hmm.
extremely endearing. Okay, you need to say, "Hey, papi," like it sounds maybe sexual in some cultures. Okay, but you can say, "Hey, papito, papi, come on." help me out, Hey, mommy,
Yeah.
hey, mommy, hey, mommy, gracias. Hey, thank you, mamita, Yo,
Hmm.
once they hear that stuff, they're like, oh my God. They say, oh my God. Yeah, yeah, no worry, papi, no worry, papi. Please, please. Okay. I've been so many times trekking through the Andes, man, and I was like starving with a group of people, and I will happily go through a small village, and
Hmm.
then I will say hello, hey, how's it going? I'll speak in Spanish because I
Sure.
don't speak Quechua. And then
Hmm.
yeah, I come with these people, Hey, so what do you guys do? We're cooking, no? And normally if they're cooking, they'll share you at least one potato or something like that. Obviously,
Yeah.
people will always share. That happens in a lot of places in the world. I believe that, yeah, people will have fun in Peru. Yeah, and but definitely the countryside is definitely more friendly than the coast. That's one thing that happens in a lot of countries, in South America.
Sure.
Usually.
So the
Mhm.
people obviously sounds like super friendly, but are there any safety concerns that people should know about before going to Lima,
Right.
like areas to avoid, any common
So
scams,
yes.
things like that?
So for example, well, one of the things that you need to know when you come to Peru, the airport, it's very far from the touristic areas and the hotels. Okay, never stay around the
Yeah.
airport. That is that is Lima 101 rule. There are hotels around the airport, but they are like or either inside or outside the airport, but right there. Okay, and
Hmm.
but that's it. The Radisson great hotels, but overall
Hmm.
that district is a no go. You normally you need to stay in these three districts I'm gonna mention. Okay,
Okay.
Barranco,
Hmm.
Miraflores, or San
Hmm.
Isidro. Those are definitely the mid upper class districts in the city, but
Hmm.
those are extremely safe. They have the best touristic offer, but overall, Lima is quite safe. Okay, you
Hmm.
compare criminality rates from Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires, Bogota. You can be from the when I was telling you about like this Lima having this shape, and the city,
The
and
arrow,
there's a
yeah.
river that cuts the city north and south. The
Hmm.
outskirts of the entire city of Lima, there's definitely a no go because it's industrial, middle class, and that there's nothing to do, nothing to see. Only if
Hmm.
you have a girlfriend or like a boyfriend there, and that's it,
Okay.
right? But then the river, so south from the river, is where
Hmm.
that old part of town. It's where Lima has always been more developed. The
Yeah.
northern part from that river is definitely industrial, also very old, but right now it's very industrial, chaotic. Traffic is very bad. Nothing to do there, nothing to see. And but yes, there will. So yeah, first rule: never stay close to the airport.
Hmm.
Second, go to a touristic areas, which is San Isidro, Miraflores, and Barranco.
Hmm.
And third, don't drink tap water because
Okay.
this is a funny thing. A lot of people, yeah, like they don't connect the dots. Okay, but the thing is this. Okay, Lima, as I was saying, right? Lima only rains 9 hours a year. Also,
Yeah.
Lima is the second largest city built on a desert after Cairo. By the way,
Wow.
it's the second largest. That is why people don't make that connection because it looks like just a regular city, right? But we
Sure.
are on a dry desert. Okay,
Hmm.
and and our water sources come from 200 kilometers from here. From the
Ah.
glaciers of the central Andean range of Peru, and
Hmm.
that water comes from so many towns. It reached the water treatments outside the city of Lima, and it's been
Hmm.
boiled, bleached, like
Yeah.
put in chemicals or whatever. So normally, I could drink it because I'm used to, because I have that Peruvian
Sure.
gut. But
Yeah.
exactly, but if you are not used to, definitely the tap water is one of the last resources. But definitely, we don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Even for taking a shower, don't open your mouth. They say. I mean, that's a bit dramatic to me, in my opinion. Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, yes, the water. But then overall, food is great, and also people say don't drink the ice on restaurants, but normally the restaurants don't make their own ice; they buy it, so this should be
Yeah.
should be safe.
Okay.
So yeah,
Perfect.
those are my
No, that.
my 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 safety recommendation. And with this I'm done. Sunscreen in
Okay.
Lima. In Lima, the sun
Hmm.
especially in summer, it's one of the highest UV rates in the world. So you need to always have sunscreen. At least
Good to
50.
know.
Always.
Okay. So you talked
Okay.
a little bit about how Ubers were a good way to get around the city. Were there any other transportation methods you would recommend, or what would you normally
Um.
tell tourists?
Uh-huh. So I mean, I actually always recommend. I'm a big fan of bikes. Okay,
Hmm.
The city of Lima has, and this is actually a fact that I learned a few months ago because I've been trying to push this idea into my new business. Okay, so
Hmm.
the city of Lima has 250 kilometers of bike lanes in only 14 districts. And that's like,
Hmm.
wow, that is a crazy amount. Okay, but then
Yeah.
but then again, that makes so much sense because I do a 4-hour tour on bikes that go for 4 districts, and every bike lane, it's not like New York, like bike lanes and there's open. No, the bike lanes in Lima are they are distinctly separate from the road, with even
Hmm.
with poles, the soft
Yeah.
poles,
Very
and
safe. Yeah.
exactly, and definitely bikes is a great option for sure. And there is so many companies that you can rent a bike if you want to, and for example, again, go back again for the shape of Lima, okay, in the river, right,
Yeah.
north and south.
Yep.
You
Hmm.
can cycle, you can do a bike. I have done bike tours from Miraflores southwest all the way to the city center, which takes me half an hour to 40 minutes, into beautiful bike lanes to go through
Yeah.
beautiful old Spanish, because you remember that architecture of Lima is very southern Spanish, very
Hmm.
Valencian, they say, very farmhouse Valencian. So you'll see these massive beautiful houses with modern buildings as well, but
Yeah.
but yeah, bikes for sure, Uber, and there
Hmm.
are a public transport called Metropolitano. And the
Okay.
Metropolitano, you need to buy a car. You need to buy a car, and it goes. Then again, going back to the shape of Lima, the
Yep.
river, it cuts only from the south, from the touristic areas to a city
Hmm.
center. It goes like this.
Okay.
So you can be there from the farthest point into the city center. You can be in 20 minutes. That will be my third option. But Uber,
Yeah.
then again, Uber, comparing to other countries, it's 5 times more cheaper here in Lima.
Nice. Yeah.
Because
No, I
remember, yeah, you know. Hmm.
yeah, I definitely remember when I was in Lima in 2019. One of the
Hmm.
biggest things we had to plan around was the traffic. Just getting around
Exactly.
there,
Hmm.
especially getting from the airport to like where you actually wanted to go. It was always a lot of traffic. So I think the bikes sound like a great option. Avoid some of that
Hmm.
traffic and just you enjoy the area a bit more when you're taking it slower. So, uh,
Exactly. Hmm.
and so I think one of the things I'm most excited to talk to you about is the
Hmm.
cuisine and the food culture of
Oh yes,
Lima,
right.
because
Hmm.
from what it sounds like, you are an expert here. And I think a lot of people don't actually know too much about Peruvian food, and it's
Hmm.
really underappreciated because I believe like the number one ranked restaurant in the world right now is located in Lima, which is
Yes.
amazing. So, yeah, could
Hmm.
you just tell us a bit about some of the must try dishes? Like everybody knows ceviche, but what else
Right. Okay.
is there to the food?
So right. So for example, look, in the city of Lima, but this will be, I'll be counting all the entire country. Okay. So
Sure.
first of all, you need to understand that Lima, when the Spanish arrived here, right? The Spanish came from as I was telling you, the seven. Sorry, I didn't finish the seven migrant groups. The seven migrant groups that arrived to the city of Lima were Spanish, Italian, French, Chinese, Japanese, Africans, which is
Mm,
Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, and Ghana, and then
mm,
native Peruvians from the Andes, because they there
sure.
were there were not a big community when there was not like a massive community of Andean people living in Lima when the Spanish arrived here. But the thing is like this. So, and the Spanish have a lot of influence for the Moors, from the Arabian
Mm,
people. Then the
yeah.
Italian, they're from the Mediterranean. A lot of Greeks. You remember Napoli is not that far from Genova. Remember, all the Italians that came to Lima, they came from Genova. And remember,
Mm,
Napoli comes from the Greek word new city. Napoli.
mm,
So,
mhm.
and then because I have friends from Napoli, and they say, yeah, we ethnically consider ourselves Greeks. I mean, we're Italians, but
Yeah.
ethnically, our forefathers came from. You know what I mean? So they have a lot of
Mhm.
that influence as well from Italian people. Then you have the French people came from Montpellier, which is southern part, also Mediterranean people. The Chinese have Cantonese and Hakka. Then the Japanese came from Japan, but also from Okinawa. But Okinawa is very more influenced by Chinese cuisine as well, Taiwanese, and also Japanese. So have like a very good influence. And Okinawan culture is completely different from Japanese culture, you know. And then you have the Afro Peruvians, and then you have the native communities. So as I was saying, in 11 years from now, Lima is going to have 500 years of foundation. Okay,
Yeah.
and this city has received for so many years so many different migrant groups. Okay, that these migrant groups never brought any of their cuisine gadgets. You know, the Chinese people or the Japanese people didn't brought their miso paste or their soy sauce. You know, they have to use whatever they found here, right?
Mhm.
Then also the Genoa people did the same. The Afro Peruvians and Spanish and Italians, you know. So for so many years, there's been so many different cultures, cooking cultures that thrive on top of each other or on the side, you know. For example, in Peru, there's one thing we call Creole cuisine, okay? Creole
Mhm.
cuisine. And Creole cuisine, as much as the New Orleans cuisine that is right now and Creole culture, the word Creole comes from that French old word that means mixing, okay?
Mhm.
So even Peruvian people, even I consider myself criollo, by the way. I consider myself Creole because I
Mhm.
am like half Peruvian, half Japanese. As much as my Peruvian friends are like half Afro, half native, half Spanish, half Afro, half Spanish, half native people as well. Italians here,
Mhm.
you know, whatever. We all Creole people, you know. So that
Sure.
we have a specific type of food that is all about. It's based on stews, potatoes, a lot of meats, like a lot of goulash type dishes, you know, which are one of my favorites. Definitely
Mhm.
one that you must need to try is called seco con frijoles, which is like a Creole cuisine influenced by Arabians, also by Afro-Peruvian people, which is like baked beans with a type of cilantro goulash meat, you know, that is on the side with white rice. And the rice was introduced by the Chinese community, you know. And also,
Mhm.
you need to know that in Peruvian culture, it's all about getting full rather than. I mean, everything is nutritious already, but it's all about
Mhm.
getting full and stuff. You know, that is like the
Mhm.
local insights of Peruvian people, right? So, so yeah, so many cultures, you know, have thrived and allocated here in the city. But there are three main dishes that, in my opinion, are the ones that you always need to try. Okay, um, one is the ceviche for sure.
Yeah.
Ceviche it
Mhm.
has a history of 2,000-year-old tradition in Peru, which originally, and I'll give you like a little tiny story about ceviche. Ceviche comes as again Peru. The ceviche comes
Yeah.
from the northern between Lima and Ecuador. There is a small town called Trujillo, okay, and originally was the Mochica people that thrive there, and the archaeologists and anthropologists found that in the mud pyramids, inside the mud pyramids, in the burials of these overlords, ancient Peruvian people, they found remains of fish, crushed chilies, and passion fruit seeds, because passion fruit seeds were the first citrusy fruits that people usually use, because there was no citrusy fruits such as lemons and oranges until the Spanish introduced it to us. Okay, then when the
Mhm.
Spanish introduced those things, then we replace the passion fruit with the bitter orange. By the way, not even lemon, bitter
Mm.
orange,
Mhm.
until 1899. So from the 15th century until the 15th century, the ceviche was just a dish that instead of lemon was chili, salt, passion fruit. Then Spanish arrived, they introduced garlic, red onions, and even cilantro, you know, and they
Mhm.
put the bitter orange. But they will they will make that juice, and they will put the fish there, and the fish will sit there for at least an hour, you know, until it gets like a rubbery kind of texture, because there's only two ways to cook protein, you know, one is heat and the other one is citrusy, right? So they normally eat a fish overcooked, but then when the Japanese arrive, the
Mhm.
Japanese say, actually we don't like this, you know, we prefer the texture of the fish to be raw, like raw fish, right? So they start using the little lemons that nobody wanted, because one thing that you also need to know, when the Spanish arrived here, they established their crops here, and they put lemon around the city of Peru. The lemon didn't grow like big and yellow because one, even though we live in a dry desert, the soil of Peru is very fertile, and two, we're close to the equator. So anything that you put water in normally gets really fast. It grows really fast, and you can get harvest really fast. So the lemons didn't grow big and yellow; it grew tiny and green, like key lines, but extremely sharp. So the Japanese took the bitter orange out and put ginger, put a little bit of ginger and celery into the mix, and then put the key limes. And that's what is considered to be right now modern ceviche. So you could say the modern ceviche right now is an ancient Peruvian, Spanish, Japanese influenced dish, just like my
Wow.
ethnicity. And then, okay, so that is actually plate number one. Plate number two is rotisserie chicken. That is for sure.
Mm.
It sounds very
Mhm.
simple in a lot of cultures. It's like anyone can do a rotisserie chicken. Yeah, I know, perfect. But
Mhm.
in Peru, we have it differently. My great uncle owned a rotisserie chicken place, and I know the recipe. So people, please, I'm gonna give it away. So don't worry about it. He's fine. He'll fine. So so for a great marination for a chicken is like this. So they would put beer back in the day, beer, but now they put water, a lot of water, and they put yeast. The
Mm.
reason why they put water and yeast is because when you do that brine, the yeast makes the brine goes way inside through the skin of the chicken rather than just go inside and whatever, because the levadura, the yeast makes microscopically makes the skin to open a little, and then the brine goes a lot, and the brine is normally a lot of salt, black pepper, oregano, sweet paprika, and a lot of garlic. A little bit cumin, depends on the recipe. Sometimes cumin,
Mhm.
garlic, but a lot of people put soy sauce and whatever. But no, the
Mhm.
yeast is the key. You
Okay.
leave it there one night over, and then you just rotisserie chicken. But also, when you bake it in the rotisserie in the speed roaster, you never use gas like in the US. That is why I don't like sometimes when I be in the US, rotisserie chicken in the US or Australia or
Mhm.
Japan, because in some cities you're not allowed to do like open fires. So
Mhm.
it makes a huge difference when you use vegetable charcoal, which is the one that we use a lot, here. It's not like
Okay.
briquettes, it's like baked wood. So that'll
Hmm.
be my second recommendation. Is great. This is one of my favorite things
Mhm.
to eat. And the third one is stir-fried tenderloin, lomo saltado.
Oh
Lomo
yeah, of
saltado is very
course.
simple. Yeah, it's a stir-fried tenderloin with red onions and tomatoes, garlic, ginger, soy sauce, a little bit of vinegar, salt. In some places they flambe it to the point that it's super smoky when you try it, and it's served with
Mhm.
French fries and white rice on the side.
Yeah.
And from those three staple dishes, I can tell you which is the most eaten. Okay, so number one, lomo saltado,
Mhm.
statistically is the dish that we eat the most in our houses because it's very
Okay.
easy to make.
Mhm.
Then number two, rotisserie chicken is like a family meal thing here, like a friends gathering. You normally don't go and eat. You can definitely have a quarter of a chicken with French rice and French fries for yourself, but normally it's normally like share, right? And then
Mhm.
ceviche is like the working class dish, because people
Hmm.
don't usually, a lot of people don't make ceviche in their houses. It's normally for a special occasion when you make a ceviche, but
Yeah.
there is so many seafood places all around Peru, that normally they do great. And then my last one will be Peruvian Chinese, which is like also staple too,
Chifa.
chifa, and
Yes.
definitely Nikkei cuisine, which is Peruvian Japanese fusion, which is also great.
Mhm.
And I could tell you that if you ever come to Peru or you ever try to open a Peruvian restaurant in Peru, there's only three restaurant businesses that you would normally succeed. Okay, and these are the
Okay.
three. One, one is funny. This is very funny. One, Chinese restaurants. Chinese restaurants always make money. Okay, regardless where you are,
Mhm.
because it's cheap, it's affordable, it's fast, and it's normally yummy. The second
Mhm.
one is seafood places,
Mm.
ceviche places, not only just ceviche but different calamari, like different like seafood stews or whatever. Normally those do great as well. And the third one is rotisserie chicken. Rotisserie chicken places are the number one best business to open in Peru, actually. you
Wow.
know mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
with each of these episodes, I'm also making a dish from that city, and I'm glad you kind of verified. I made Lomo Saltado, so I'll be
Nice, nice.
posting that recipe soon in the next few
Excellent,
days,
excellent.
and I'm looking forward to your feedback and you can be
For sure, for
critical.
sure.
But
I
no,
will exactly. I will also send you my. I did a YouTube channel. The company that I work right now is called With Locals. They're from Holland, and that is
mhm.
where most of the tours that I manage, because I am the one that trained and opened the city when they opened back in 2019.
Okay.
I did 4 videos of lomo saltado, ceviche, causa, which is a
Mhm.
spicy potato cake, and this pan con chicharrón, which is like a type of chashu pork on a bun. And
Mm.
I'll send you the link for you to check it out.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely add those to the
Yeah,
website so everybody else can see
nice,
those as
nice.
well. So,
Hmm.
any what restaurants or
Hmm.
areas to eat would you recommend in Lima?
Oof. Okay. So number one,
Hmm.
the central district market of the city center of Lima. It's called Mercado Ramon Castilla, which is like the old district of Lima. Lima Historic Center has its own district market, right? All around
Hmm.
that area is one of the best places to eat because you have Japanese delis that serve only 2 things, which is like this deep fry cassava or yuca thing with like this rice soup that this Japanese family, they've been doing that since 1940. Since before for Second World War. Then right there you have Chinatown, which is mainly for street foods and dumplings. Then you
Hmm.
have all the Peruvian Creole cuisine that I just mentioned inside the market, because inside
Mm.
the market there is more than 50 small kiosks inside the market that serve like a set menu, and the set menu in Peru normally won't cost you more than $4, and it's an entry which is normally a quinoa soup, which second main course and a juice. And then you have street food all around the city, which is like these hard skewers, which we can talk about. But oh my god, this like I can talk for hours about what you can get there. That'll be number one. Number two,
Hmm.
the new Asian district, in my opinion, has. I'm actually gonna go tonight there to have like this dinner with some friends from the U.S. actually, and
Oh, nice.
we're going to this Hakka restaurant, which I highly recommend. In my opinion, the best Chinese restaurant in South America, and that's big claim,
Wow.
man. Big
Yeah.
claim. I've been in. I always look for a good Chinese restaurant everywhere I go, and that
Hmm.
has been as good as the ones I find in New York, maybe even better. Okay.
Nice.
But the new district, Asian district, it's only like 20. It's like 60 blocks, but it's only
Hmm.
maybe like 10 blocks that gathers the most amount of restaurants, right? And in that
Hmm.
same block of that Hakka restaurant is the best rotisserie chicken in Peru, which is a place called Don Tito. Don Tito
Mm.
in the original location since 1984. Okay, that's the
Hmm.
place. That'll be my second recommendation, and my third recommendation will be Miraflores and Barranco for seafood. Miraflores
Hmm.
has great restaurant right by the ocean with an amazing view. And there is a saying in Peru that it's like this, like you never get a bad ceviche. Never. It's
Hmm.
like a thing, it's like you're never gonna get a bad bagel in New York City. You're
Sure.
never gonna get a bad ceviche in Lima.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go
Okay.
wrong, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank
Hmm.
you for your insights there
Oh,
into the food
my
scene.
pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. And well, just to finish, the thing is like when you make ceviche, a ceviche has a distinct recipe. It has to be the freshest fish of the day, and
Mm.
the first thing that the fish needs to touch is salt. So you need to salt the fish. Then you cut it, or you can cut it and then salt it and put it in the freezer. And then you make a thing called the tiger's milk. And the tiger's milk translate literally to a spiced lemon juice. And then they have garlic, red onions, chili, cilantro, what else? Chili, cilantro, red onions, garlics, and then you mash it or you blend it, sometimes with
Mm.
pieces of fish to make it thicker, and then you mix it up. And but you need to follow those steps, because, for example, and that is why you'll never get bad ceviche. If your fresh fish, you put first the tiger's milk or you put the lemon. I just saw this influencer from New Zealand called Uncle Charlie or whatever, I don't know. He put
Ah.
lemon first, okay? And
Hmm.
I was like, no, man, it's like this is not ceviche. I said I'm gonna make Peruvian ceviche, which is great, but that's a mistake. When you put lemon first, you make your
Yeah.
ceviche going slimy. Your ceviche
Mm.
start like getting this slime texture. the reason why we put first salt is because the salt doesn't make the water go away. Au contraire, it makes actually the fish tighter and slightly firmer to the taste. And then you put that spiced lemon juice, and then you eat it,
Okay.
not the other way around. That is why you'll never get a bad ceviche. That is the insights. Yeah. Hmm. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. So
No
I
problem.
think a lot of people use Lima as almost a hopping off point when they come to Peru. A
Mhm.
lot of people, their
That's true.
first thought for Peru is Machu Picchu and going to Cusco, so they might just spend a day or two in Lima before catching a flight there. What
Mhm.
places would you recommend people to visit while they're in Lima, like top destinations?
Top destinations and things to do in the city of Lima just for one day. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
maybe they can just book my tour. Okay. It's called the 10 Tasting of Lima.
Perfect.
It's a great way to experience the whole historic city center that includes 10 different tastings through through locations in the city center. They've been open for at least 100 years. But definitely the city center is one thing that you need to do in one day, the
Hmm.
city center. And then the second could be Miraflores and Barranco as well. Barranco, I always name Barranco because it's like this, it's very distinct, these things that every single district of Lima has. For example, San Isidro is the fanciest, the richest district in the city, but it's mainly like the CBD, the Central Business District, okay, and the
Hmm.
Embassy District. There's like amazing mud pyramids in the middle of the district with definitely some must things to see and to go and visit. But that's it. There's locations and good restaurants for sure. Then you go to Miraflores, and Miraflores, in my opinion, has everything. Has a great view of the waterfront, has great location, is extremely vibrant, street food, and places they've been serving the same thing for at least 50, 60 years. They also have a great district market there, very similar to the one in the city center. Okay. And that'll be a great introduction to the city of Lima. Super organized, clean. The whole city of Lima is quite clean, to be honest.
Hmm.
But then you go to Barranco, and the difference between Miraflores and the San Isidro is that San Isidro is being very well modernized with a lot of like buildings and everything. Miraflores the same. They have destroyed Alex like beautiful colonial houses, but I mean private property, right? But
Yeah.
like these beautiful colonial houses from the mid 1800s, look like
Mm.
German palaces, in the middle of the city of South America. But then Barranco has now a law that you cannot destroy things that they qualify as Peruvian architectural heritage. So
Nice.
Barranco has this old vibe of the old Lima.
Hmm.
And it's considered to be the Bohemian district because it's where, not today, in my opinion, not today, but back 20 years ago, had the best bars. It was like the red zone in a way, you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
also a great view of the city by the waterfront. Super vibrant culture, live music. Every single mayor of Barranco is mainly promotes like mural, street art, live bands. So that would be the three distinct. But if you wanted to experience Lima, you only have like 8 hours to do it, right? Go to a city center, the plaza of the city center of Lima, where
Hmm.
where it's the cultural heart of the city. You know, you will understand everything there. You will have a better understanding of what Lima truly is. Because ideal Lima as a district that you can find everything walking distance is definitely Miraflores, Barranco, San Isidro, ideal Lima. Everybody wants to live in that district, to be honest.
Hmm.
Although there are very beautiful districts in between, don't get me wrong, that's for sure a lot. But the
Hmm.
city center of the city of Lima tells you tells you better story. It tells you about the history, it tells you about the cultural origins, tells you about their cultural relevance. Also tells you where people literally, all these big restaurant names, like the one in Barranco, which is called Central. Originally everybody have their ideas from these Andean communities, Spanish, Italian, French, Chinese, Japanese, that thrive and live in the city center. My family, until I was 7 years old, we live in the city center of Lima. We have
Mm.
a Japanese pastry place. And then 2 blocks away, it was my my great uncle rotisserie chicken, and then 3 blocks that way I have another like restaurant from families, from Japanese families. You can still find Italian delis in the city center. They make their own pasta, for example. And yeah, I would say the city center of Lima. It's a great way to see.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Real Lima.
I
Exactly,
think you could
exactly.
easily spend the whole day in the Plaza Mayor area. I remember, I mean, I did that myself when I was there.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
have the changing of the guards right there. You can see
Exactly,
you have
exactly.
the big cathedral, you have catacombs close by, and you're still walking
Hmm.
distance to Chinatown.
Exactly.
And yeah, so much right
Hmm.
there. It was, yeah, amazing area.
Hmm.
So if you only have one day, I
Exactly,
100%
exactly,
agree
exactly.
there.
Exactly. The catacombs are the second largest catacombs in the world. I
Yeah.
was I was checking the list of what are the biggest ones, and I thought that the Roman ones, from the Vatican, apparently it's
Mm.
Paris and then Lima, and then the ones in Italy. Yeah,
It's
and then
crazy.
then the Cathedral of Lima is great. The plaza, you can be the change of guard at noon. The Chocolate
Hmm.
Museum, the Cafe Cordano, which is the oldest restaurant in Peru. They have a nice pisco sour and this
Hmm.
120-year-old cafe. It's beautiful. These massive churches that were pretty much built in the 16th century. Then we have the oldest university in the Americas, which is
Mm.
happened to be built in 1551. So
Wow.
it's like you need to understand, a lot of people, as you were mentioned, it's like very unappreciated, very underrated, because for so many for so as much as the US right now is the biggest military and economic power in the world right now, before the US it was the British, okay? And
Hmm.
before the British, during the Victorian times, it was the Spanish for almost 300 years. And the
Hmm.
Spanish headquarters for the colonies, which they were pretty much where all the military campaigns got financed from, the headquarters was freaking Lima, for
Wow.
not only the Americas, but also the Philippines, because our patron saint of the city of Lima is a female. It's called Santa Rosa de Lima, patron of the Americas and the Philippines, you know?
Hmm.
So when you understand how much of a cultural relevance Lima used to have back in the days, then you start putting the dots together. Okay, so if New York is the biggest metropolis right now, before New York was Chicago, before Chicago
Yeah.
was London, before London was Madrid, before Madrid was Istanbul, before
Sure.
Istanbul was Lima for a while, and then before Lima was Cartago in Tunisia, and then before Cartago was Rome. You can
Yeah.
go back, and you can name, and Lima will always be there. As one of the biggest cultural hubs in history. And that
Definitely.
is why it has such a cultural relevance. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to one thing you mentioned. So I think there's two very important drinks to try while you're in Peru. First one, Inca Cola, uh, made by
Mhm.
Coca-Cola brand. It's something you kind of see all over, but you'll never
Right,
find
right.
that here. And
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one that you mentioned a bit earlier is Pisco Sour, something I
Pisco
don't think a
sour.
lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are familiar with, but was
Mm-hmm.
delicious when I had it. So yeah, could
Right,
you talk
right.
a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
those?
So yeah, for sure. So actually, Inca Cola originally was invented by a British guy from Lima, family from Lima. The
Mm.
Ling family it was called. Actually, I met one time the great granddaughter, right,
Hmm.
of that family, and we went to her house for a party because a friend of mine was a friend. Yo, they had 14 living rooms, and they have like Inca
Wow.
Cola dispensaries. No, it was crazy. It was one of the richest house I ever been in my life. Okay, so until 1999, actually, the Inca Cola was a Peruvian-owned company, and Inca Cola still today is the brand that oversells Inca Cola. It's only like 3 countries in the world. I believe there is Peru, Turkey, and Indonesia. I believe. I'm not.
Mm.
I'm not sure. But so until 1999. So in 1999, Coca-Cola bought Inca Cola, but only 40%. And if I have my data correct, it was 200 millions US they got paid back then.
Mm. Wow.
And until today, it's not 100% owned by Coca-Cola, just a brand.
Okay.
Coca-Cola, yes, it's like
Hmm.
40 something owned by Coca-Cola.
Hmm.
So that is one, and it's usually made by lemongrass originally. It was a lemongrass soda pop, and the
Yeah.
recipe definitely changed. But
Hmm.
for everybody that end up listening to this podcast, okay, there is only one way to drink Coca-Cola. Always, if you are going to go for your original flavor, always from the glass bottle.
Yeah.
If you are going to go for a plastic bottle, always drink the no sugar one, because the sugary one with the plastic is horrible. Okay.
And
Yeah,
could you
horrible,
describe the
horrible.
taste a bit? For me, I thought it was almost
Like, yeah,
bubblegum taste.
exactly. People say like bubble gum. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know which type of bubble gums do you guys eat in the US or have. Okay,
Hmm.
but it must have the same ingredients, which is like
Yeah.
just lemongrass and some herbs, because it's mainly made from herbs.
Hmm.
So I mean, for my taste that I grew up drinking that,
Yeah.
it tastes like Coca-Cola. Like, maybe if I try a
Sure.
bubble gum, it'll taste like Coca-Cola. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the opposite,
100%.
the opposite way. Exactly.
Sure.
And yeah, and then pisco sour, very simple. It's a brief story though. Pisco sour is a derivative. It's a variety of cocktail inspired from the whiskey sour. In
Hmm.
1916, there was a hotel in the city center of Lima, which now doesn't, I'm pretty sure doesn't work anymore. It's called the Hotel Mauri. And the Hotel Mauri was a British bartender that ran out of whiskey to make whiskey sours with. So he's like, hey, what am I going to have, right? Let's have some pisco.
Hmm.
So, because back in the 1900s, pisco was a distillate that we only exported, mainly to the US, by the way, a lot to San
Hmm.
Francisco. There is like
Hmm.
there's like publicity, if you do a research, on like San Francisco bars from the early
Hmm.
1900s, that they would serve pisco. Right?
Huh.
So this British bartender, instead of putting whiskey, he put pisco, serve it, right? And since then became the staple cocktail of Peru. Now, pisco. What is pisco? Pisco is a distillate from grapes. People say that maybe it could be something. Well, no. It's same as grappa, cherry, or brandy. Grappa from Italy, cherry from Spain, brandy from France. Okay. The only difference between the distillated process that we have from the European ones is that when, by the way, you need to also know that pisco in Peru is like one of the best, but Peruvian wine is very bad. Okay. Why?
Mm.
Because on the latitude in the world, what that type of grapes that normally comes from Mesopotamia, by the way, Iraq. That's where the original area which grapes are originally from, and then arriving to the Mediterranean, everybody uses it as a wine. They have a certain latitude in the world. The grapes have the right balance between the flavonoid, tannins, and sugars. Which is, for example, Chile, Argentina, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia has great wine.
Hmm.
Then you have Napa Valley, Europe, and even Japan has great wine. Japan has great whiskey too. But then
Hmm.
everything that is closer to the equator normally is sweet, and meaty and more sweet. So when the Spanish arrive, actually the Jesuits start putting grape vines all around this part of Peru, but they realized that it was too hot and it was too fertile, so the grapes were really bad in quality. But either way, the Spanish didn't want to lose any geopolitical influence in the world, so they established
Hmm.
themselves. So they just decided to put the grapevines in the south part of the Lima, which is only 200 kilometers south. But the grape there is extremely sweet, so the wine is very bad. But then again, there is no mass without wine, right? So,
Hmm.
and Peru is very Catholic, right? But anyway, pisco. The only difference with this distillate with pisco is that in Europe they crush the grapes and they use the grape juice to make their wines, Tempranillo, Chianti, Malbec, whatever they have there, and then they will re-ferment the skins to do a young 20 to 40-day young wine, and then
Mm.
they will boil it, and the vapor will turn into alcohol, into the grappa cherry brandy. Okay, but in Peru, the only difference between that difference and here is because our grapes are too sweet. We crush the grapes and we use the grape juice and the skins together. That is why it's
Mm.
extremely aromatic, but it's extremely strong. So more
Mhm.
than two pisco sours, no recommend you, because then it's too strong, it gets a
Yeah.
lot of sugar. So yeah, but that is pretty much the little story about pisco.
No,
And
that's
then
great.
pisco
Yeah,
sour now. Mhm,
I had no idea about that, but
mhm.
definitely a must try when you're there.
Exactly. That
So,
is a must thing to do. Yes.
yes. So just to start wrapping things up, is
Mhm.
there anything else you think people should know about Lima before traveling over?
Mm, um, the,
We've
okay.
covered a
Well,
lot.
right. Yeah, I know. No, we have covered a lot. So, well, you always need to understand that this is not Kansas, right? Right. You need to come to South America. Sorry, you need to come to South America with an open mind and an understanding that there are very good, strong traditions. That you'll be encountered to, and most likely you'll receive them into your life as a great experience, obviously, because Incan culture in Peru has a fame. Actually, there's a specific profile of a type of travel when it comes to Peru. That this has been proven in the study. The people usually that come to Peru, not only Lima, the Cusco, they're usually interested in culture. They're usually very friendly, obviously. They're usually interested in knowing other cultures, not necessarily just Europe. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because normally some rich countries will just go to countries that are considered to be safe, right? But you need to know, you need to know that you need to also know the seasons and which season you're coming. Remember, summer in the coast, which is your winter in the north, is the best time to come to Lima. And your summer is our winter, and it's the best time to go to Cusco. And then again, when you see, for example, this is a very good example just to wrap things up a little, right? So a year ago, we have a coup from this political president, from a very left president, trying to be slightly having dictator speeches or whatever. So he ended up getting out of power. We put him in jail, like he's in jail right now, whatever. There in the city center, there was protests only in 4 blocks. In the length of 4 blocks, there was massive protests. Always people instigated violence, but the way that they were like, I don't want to sound like biased, or I don't want to or right or left. I just want to say that there were violence involved in this protest, right? Then news channels came from the US or Europe or whatever country. Oh my God, they say, oh my God, in Peru, things are going bad,
Yeah.
I had 18 tours already booked this happened a year ago, on a period of January, February, or March 2023. Everyone got canceled. Every single one. No, Peru is bad, I mean, I understand if people are not going to Ecuador right now, which Ecuador is like going really bad with the narco wars against the government or whatever. But then in the same period, in France, there were people striking, killing themselves in the streets, burning down cars.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? That tourism never went down,
No.
Au contraire, the tourism stayed and went up even, It didn't affect it at all, So you also need to understand that there is more to the story all the time, especially in Latin American countries that have like a very ambiguous, sometimes like attitudes, and sometimes your experience won't be compared to other experience. I live in Tokyo, right in the center of Tokyo, and I was more afraid of dying from a car crash than I'm in Peru, I lived in Sydney and Melbourne, and sometimes I was afraid to be eaten by a shark, okay? But actually I wasn't that much, but it was like a high possibility, right?
Yeah.
I go surfing to Peru right here in Lima, that has one of the best surfing breaks in the continent all the time, I never worry about it,
Yeah.
But definitely you need to have like more of a local experience. Is definitely the one that will be more suited if you want like a real experience, but overall, just do it, just like travel, go, put yourself in extremely uncomfortable positions, feel adversity into your face, and that is when you really get to know yourself,
100%.
Exactly.
No, I agree
100%.
completely. I think that's a great message to end on there, is just don't judge something based on what you see in the news. There's always two sides of the story. And I mean, personally, I spent 2 weeks in Peru. I had an amazing time. It's a beautiful country, and I would highly recommend everybody to do the same. And I think if nothing else, the last hour, I think, should definitely convince a bunch of people that it's worth traveling to for, if nothing else, the food, the amazing food, and just the friendly people and the beautiful sights. So Choji, thank you so much for this. How can people find you if they want to connect?
Well, they can find me over my website, which is inside this company called With Locals. So we try to always do extremely 100% local experiences, and most of the tours will be designed by me, and I have hired and trained everyone that has come along into my team, and great people as well. You can find me there, and also you can find me on my Instagram as choji.itosu. And you can just send me a straight message if you want me to arrange some travels in Peru or experiences downtown Lima, such as like culture experiences, the 10 tastings of the historic city center, surfing lessons, bike tours, cooking lessons at my grandmother's house, properly at a Japanese place, Japanese Peruvian place, Okinawan Peruvian place, and yeah, that's where you can find me, and I'll be glad to help you in anything that anyone wants. Completely, yes. Just send me a message. Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I
Mhm.
will have all of Choji's links on the website. And
Mhm.
yeah, no, just, that
Thank you.
was
Thank you.
awesome. Thanks.
No, thank you guys, and have a great day, okay, everyone. And thank you, Alex, for this podcast. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our episode on Lima, Peru. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, once again, please reach out to me. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at TLL_pod or on our website, www.tllpod.com. I look forward to hearing where you guys would like me to cover next. Next week, we will be diving into the beautiful city of Barcelona, Spain. Stay tuned. Happy traveling.